Salt on a Magpie's Tail, a Swedish folk tale. Virtues are acquired through endeavours which rest wholly upon us. We all have dreams. It takes a lot of determination, confidence, dedication, and hard work to turn dreams into reality. Salt on a Magpie's Tail teaches us the values of hard work and self-dependence through an ambitious boy. The tale highlights how, with the help of these virtues, the boy leads to prosperity and well-being. It is interesting to note that he achieves the best through diligence and by using the resources he had at hand. A young lad named Ole spent his time daydreaming about things he fancied: toys, a clasping knife, a wagon, a pony, a house with a garden, etc. A clasping knife is a knife with a blade that folds into the handle. His widowed mother, who sold brooms after his father's death, could hardly make ends meet, let alone get him the things that he fancied. Make ends meet is a phrase meaning to earn enough income to provide for basic needs. Their situation was miserable. They lived in a dilapidated house, as cold and uncomfortable as a broken-down house could be, and they barely managed a square meal on some days. A square meal means a satisfying and balanced meal. The young lad was of no help to his mother, as he spent most of his time daydreaming. One morning, sitting on a garden bench, Ole was, as usual, muttering to himself, "If I had a sharp knife, I'd carve out toys to play. If I had a wagon, I'd carry my toys everywhere. If I had a pony." Muttering means privately expressing dissatisfaction. An old man, sitting beside him, smiled as he heard Ole talking to himself. He tapped the young lad's shoulder and advised, "Go to the woods and sprinkle some salt on a magpie's tail. Its magical powers can make wishes come true. Wish while the salt is still on the bird's tail. Otherwise, the spell may break." Ole thanked the old man and set off immediately in search of a magpie. As per the old man's advice, he carried with him some salt. The woods were not far away. He came across a congregation of magpies. However, not a bird let him near. Congregation means a gathering or collection of people, animals, or things. On seeing him advancing, the birds would fly away in a flick. Finally, disappointed and tired, Ole decided to head for home. Tweet, tweet! He heard a bird call. Ole turned around to see who could be calling. Imagine his excitement when he found a tiny magpie hovering close by. He watched closely the movements of the bird as it flew over and around him. It seemed to be inviting him to interact. The bird finally perched on a nearby bush and said, "Were you looking for me?" Perched means rested. "You talk?" cried Ule, surprised. "Oh, yes," said the bird. "You see, I am an enchanted princess with magical powers. I know you want to sprinkle salt on a magpie's tail." "You do?" said Ule, feeling hopeful. "Oh, yes. I'll let you put salt on my tail if you run my errand." Errand means a task. "I'll fetch anything that you want," Ule said eagerly, at the same time watching her movements more closely now. He did not want to miss an opportunity to sprinkle salt. "Get me a sparkling new knife to trim my claws and clean my beak," said the magpie. "A princess must look well groomed." Whoosh! She flew over his head and into the deep woods. Ule immediately began devising a plan to earn money to buy the magpie a knife. He started off by picking berries and selling them at a market in a nearby town. With the money thus earned, he bought a sparkling new knife and hurried back to the woods carrying with him a pinch of salt. In the woods, Ule did not have to look for the magpie. She came hopping right up as if she had been waiting for him. For a brief second, she examined the knife in Ule's hand and then shook her head disapprovingly. "It's too plain a knife for a princess like me," she said. "I wanted one with a shiny stainless steel switchblade and a golden handle." Ule looked disappointedly at her, but he said, "I'll get you the type that you want." "Don't bother," the magpie shot back. "Now what I want is a really fine wagon to carry my things." "A princess has lots of things, you know." Without a backward glance, the magpie flew off to go deeper into the woods. The forest floor was full of fallen wood. Ule put the new knife to use for carving little toys out of pieces of wood. He worked hard, but was unable to make good enough toys worthy of selling. He needed to work harder than this, he realized. With time and practice, he learned to make better toys and was soon taken over by the desire to make the best set of animals that had ever been carved in wood. He worked the hardest, day and night, and finally produced an array of very fine toys. Array means an impressive display or range of a particular type of thing. No one in the market had a collection that was better than Ule's. All the toys got sold sooner than he had expected. Needless to say, he made a lot of money and was able to buy a wagon. He chose carefully, buying only the finest one. He hauled the wagon along the whole path and stepped into the woods with a handful of salt. No sooner the magpie saw the wagon that she flapped her wings agitatedly. "A princess can't use an ordinary wagon like that. I wanted one with a gold trim and velvet cushions." He looked more disappointedly at her now than the previous occasion. But seeing her flying away, he called out, "I'll get you the type that you want." "Don't bother," the magpie shot back. "Now what I want is a pony. A princess needs to ride in style." Ule began devising a plan to earn money for a pony. Ule put the wagon to good use for ferrying heavy loads, wood, vegetables, earthen pots, and sometimes even people. The magpie goes on asking one thing after another. The simple fellow Ule keeps on working to get her those things. In the process, he has changed from the lazy boy he was into a hard-working young man. He had to work day and night to earn the money needed for buying a pony. When he had made enough money, he looked for a pony more carefully than he had for the wagon and bought a handsome black one with a thick, shiny mane. Ule was excited while riding the pony to the woods. He was sure the magpie would let him sprinkle salt. He had a pocketful of salt with him that day. With bated breath, Ule watched the magpie as she took a hard look at the pony. With bated breath means in great suspense, very anxiously or excitedly. Shaking her head and flapping her wings, she declared, "I prefer brown ponies." Ule looked at her the most disappointedly and shouted, "You are impossible to please." "Am I?" The magpie looked cockily at him before flying away. Cockily means in an overly confident manner. "Hey, wait! I'll get you a brown pony," Ule said desperately. "Nope. Now what I want is a house with a beautiful garden. You see, it's time this princess has a house of her own." Ule was dumbfounded at the magpie's demand. Nevertheless, he began devising ways to earn money for buying the house. Dumbfounded means greatly astonished. He harnessed the pony to the wagon and used the carriage for transporting heavier loads. He continued with the business of making toys too. He toiled so hard that soon he had more money than was needed to pay for the house. Thus, he not only bought a house with a garden view, but also set up a business venture with the extra money. It was time to go back to the woods to find the magpie and tell her about the accomplished task. On this occasion, he carried with him a packet of salt to sprinkle on the magpie's tail. The magpie was sitting on top of one of the tallest trees, looking far out at something. "I've bought you a house with a garden view. Now, may I get to sprinkle salt on your tail and make my wish?" shouted Ule from beneath. The magpie looked down. She seemed quite pleased. She left her perch and came up to him right in front. This was the closest she had ever come. "You have toiled hard to give me what I want, so I'll grant you whatever you wish for. Go ahead, sprinkle salt on my tail." She stuck out her tail. The moment had come at last. He was trembling with excitement as he pushed his fingers into the packet of salt. He barely managed to remove a pinch. He clumsily sprinkled the salt onto the bird's tail. "Well, say aloud what you wish for," the magpie prodded. Prodded means prompted. Ule said eagerly, "I want a pony." "No, I have that." "I want a wagon." "No, I have that too." "Hurry," said the bird. "Your time is running out." Indeed, what should he ask for? He had been so busy working that he had completely forgotten all that he had ever wished for. "1," said the magpie. "2." "Shh! Give me a moment to think," Ule requested, but he could not think of a single wish. "3," said the magpie, and flipped her tail feathers. The salt fell off, and the magpie began laughing loudly and hysterically. Hysterically means in an uncontrollable manner. Even the woods began to reverberate with her laughter. Reverberate, when used for a place, means appear to vibrate because of a loud noise. Ule glared at the bird. "Don't you have everything you ever wanted? And all this without having to make a single wish?" she asked. Indeed, he had everything that he had wished for, and he had not even noticed. He said, "I worked hard just to be able to sprinkle salt on your tail feathers, which was quite unnecessary. I may as well have worked for myself." "Yes, how do you explain that?" Ule never did try to explain it. He had quite well understood the value of self-help. He settled down in the new house, continued to work hard, married a sweet young woman, and raised 2 fine children. Needless to say, he ensured that his children learn the value behind the belief, salt on a magpie's tail. Through this simple folk tale, the narrator drives home to readers the values of self-help and hard work.